Good evening, everyone. It's here again. Friday has once again rolled around, and with it, the opportunity to indulge a little. Excuse me, everyone, and cheers. Before we go any further, I will apologise in advance for the live stream tonight. May not be as lively as usual, if it ever is. I'm absolutely hanging tired. I didn't get in until after midnight last night, and then had a couple of beers when I got back in, and it was late when I got to bed, and then I was up again at kind of sparrow's fart, 5:30. So I am a little bit. It's catching up with me, basically. That rock and roll party lifestyle isn't really for me anymore. But the reason why I was out late last night, well, you possibly already saw the post that last night I was going out to see a rather special gig, and I'll be telling you all about it as we meander through the next hour or so, and one or two other things. So before we get into any of that, let's do the roll call, see who's in, and who was first in. I see. We have Dr. Gomez 1 first in this evening. Congratulations, mate. At 3:06 p.m. you were in. Then we have Steve Hale saying hello from Carlisle. Then we've got Johnny Random, Rent to Kill, PFY Guitars, Peter Nicholson, Dave Lewis. Then there's Cylon Hybrid and Johnny H. Scrolling down, I see we've got Michael Purcell and James Hunt. Then Mark Kerno, Wilson Jones, Terry Day, Stephen Hedger. Looking forward to another round of guitar-related banter whilst joining our host in a beer or two. I love Friday evenings. You and me the same, mate. You and me the same. Then Edwin, looks like he's sending his apologies. Unfortunately, I have real-life beer party today, so I can't be joining the beer stream today. I'll watch the replay tonight. Well, Edwin, if you're watching now or watching in the future on replay, and anyone else who's watching on catch-up, have a beer. Have a beer. Enjoy yourself. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Then we've got Michael Palmer and Ian Clark. And who else we've got? We've got Balder and Anton Bass at Night, John Channing, John Ross. Relaxing Meditation is there as well. Could do with a bit of that myself at the moment. Peter Collins is there, Jeff C, Cal B and the Rocco Cat. Then we've got Geronimo. Haven't seen you about in a little while, mate. Hope all's well. Then there's Brad Matthews and Chris Ottewell and Maria Davis. And who else? We've got Vincent Brennan, Jack Collins, Robert Galbraith, John Mack, Paul Jameson, Nancy Davis. Phil is in. So is Russell Gibson, David Collins, and Theme Tunes. There's Chip Young and Colin Falcon, Stratboy 999, Mike Hurley, and there's Farjon coming in as well. Excuse me. We've got the Time Prophet there, and the Essex Cat, and Peter S. There's Morris Kilday, and scrolling down, I see we've got Steve Cassidy guitar and Dudley Squat. Grandpa guitarist is there. So is Johnny from the Budget Guitar Show. How are you, mate? Alonzo White and Anthony McManus. I see we've got Ian Quitner has just joined us in there. Yes, it's good to have you back, Geronimo, mate. There's Terry S. Did I mention you, mate? And Graham James. I think that the chat sort of jumped while I was scrolling down. But in case, Peter Shields, Pablo Hank, Jeff Rock, Rick Cookson, Johnny Love, Thomas Mulvaney, and Ben Allmark. I've missed a load of people out. I do beg your pardon. Dudley Squat, did I say you earlier, mate? I just did. Anyway, I apologise if I've missed you off the list there. As I said, I'm not entirely firing on all cylinders at the moment, but it was worth it, because the reason I was up late last night was because I went to see a fantastic gig at the Sage in Gateshead, which is not really a local venue to me, but it's also relative. It's maybe an hour and a half away. And a big thank you to Pete, who drove us there as well. Thank you, Pete, if you're watching. I know you sometimes do. yeah, I went to see the Classic Rock Show. You may recall last year I did a video review of the gig that I went to. I think it was last February, February 2022. Well, we went to see them again, and they were absolutely outstanding. If you're not sure what the Classic Rock Show is, if you've been hiding under a rock, then, or maybe if you're just an overseas viewer, because I know they are a big deal over here, but perhaps not out in the big wider world beyond these shores. They are an absolutely fantastic. Well, I guess you could call them a rock covers band, but they are so much more than that. Calling these guys a rock covers band is a bit like saying, Gordon Ramsay can cook a bit. They are absolutely fantastic. They're essentially a tribute band, and they could be the world's best Van Halen tribute band, or the world's best Who tribute band, or the world's best I don't know, Toto tribute band, but they do all of these. I tell you what, I'll run you through the set list because I've pieced it together. Don't think I've missed any off here. Last night, they opened the show with Baba O'Reilly. Then they did One of These Nights, the old Eagles tune, Barracuda by Heart, Burn by Deep Purple, YYZ by Rush, Feel Like Making Love, Bad Company, Romeo and Juliet, Dire Straits, Black Dog, Led Zeppelin, The Chain, Fleetwood Mac, and Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 by Pink Floyd. I think I've probably got a few holes there in that first set. Then after the intermission, they came rocking back in with Space Oddity, then Rosanna, then an absolutely barnstorming version of Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart. Big shout out there to Jess Harwood, the female vocalist in the band, who absolutely nailed that song. Then, turning on a sixpence, they went pretty much straight into Status Quo, Down, then REO Speedwagon, Keep On Loving You, Desperado, but the Linda Ronstadt version rather than the Eagles version. Then, just a note perfect, absolutely kind of incredibly accurate version of Bat Out of Hell, Don't Stop Believing, Thunderstruck, Van Halen's Jump, and they finished the set with an absolutely killer version of an extended jam killer version of Freebird. Then came back out for a couple of encores, the full unedited, unexpurgated version of Bohemian Rhapsody, the operatic bit in the middle and everything. They pulled that off. Queen never did it live, but they did. And then we had the final encore was Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll. What an absolutely incredible show. I had a sore throat this morning from singing along too much, and I don't usually sing. Oh, I see we've got Mike in from China Guitar Skeptic. Hope you're doing well, Mike. Absolutely. You're welcome, mate. Let's have a look. Do they tour nationally? Yes, they do. If you just Google the Classic Rock Show, I can't remember whether it's .com or .co.uk. You'll get their website and you'll see all the tour dates there. I think they're adding more dates to this tour at the moment. Get your skates on. It seems to be that they tend to tour in the first 3 months of the year, it tends to be January, February, March, April, kind of mid 3 or 4 months of the year. So that they're still on tour at the moment, and there may be tickets left. I was buzzing when I got home. Hence, you can't just kind of get home after a gig like that and go, okay, night then, and go straight to sleep. So hence why I'm a little bit flagging today. But I know what the cure for that is. DME, yes indeed. First one doesn't touch the sides, does it? Seriously, go and see them if you get the chance. If you can't get to see them live, because I don't think they tour internationally yet, although I suspect watch your space. In case you don't know, by the way, Pete Thorne is currently in the lead guitar role with these guys. So you're in for a fantastic evening of guitar wizardry anytime Pete's involved. And yeah, great show. But trust me, I'm not going to bang on about it all evening. They are an absolutely fantastic band, but just go and see them or go and check them out on YouTube. Michael Broadhead is saying, how do you rate yourself as a lyricist? I'm about as good as a lyricist as I am a bagpipe player. And, well, draw your own conclusions. Yeah, I don't write lyrics. It's just not my thing. I like listening to a well-written lyric. I've done a couple of videos where I've talked about, my favourite story songs and my favourite songs with lyrics and stuff. But I don't know. Just the whole kind of thing of sitting down with a pen and paper and writing things that sound a bit or feel a bit like poetry. It's just never really kind of... it's never something I've had a passion for doing myself. So there you go. Deco Dude is saying, is that the band where the guitarist uses a Harley Benton? No, that's not the band, although they are related, because I mentioned the female vocalist with... there are 3 vocalists with the Classic Rock Show, 2 male and 1 female vocalist. Jesse Smith, by the way, one of the main male vocalists, is an absolute kind of killer vocalist. What a set of pipes on him. But no, Jess Harwood, the female vocalist, she has her own tribute act called Rumours of Fleetwood Mac. I wonder who that's a tribute to. It's the guitarist from that band who did the tour with the humble Harley Benton Strat copy. That was a great video, I thought. That was, it really did, show that these instruments can be used and, have been used as professional quality instruments. Rent to Kill is asking, how was the lovely Dougal this week? Dougal is, he's asleep at the moment. It's very tiring being that naughty. He's, as you can probably tell by the kind of detritus behind me, this, as well as being my workspace, is also our spare bedroom. And we have an old mate of mine staying at the moment for a couple of days. It's his birthday, and it's not long after my birthday, so we're kind of getting together for a weekend of birthday celebrations, that kind of thing. Of which that Classic Rock Show gig was one of them. I don't know what it is about my pal Jem. He always brings out the slightly more psychotic side of Dougal. So anyway, Dougal is currently asleep, and he's a sleeping dog, and I'm going to let that sleeping dog lie because, let me show you. Let me show you something here. If you can see that lovely kind of... I call these Dougal tattoos now because he's not, being vicious when he's doing that. He's just kind of being boisterous, and that's the kind of thing that that's what his form of boisterousness can lead to. Let's have a look. Ian Clark saying, no chance of a Bon Scott bagpipe solo anytime soon. Then no, I think I can pretty emphatically rule that one out. Let's give that a shout out. Northeast Guitar Show this Sunday, Rainton Meadow Arena. The Paul Rose Band are playing. Yes, so if you're in the area, it might be a good day out. What else we got to talk about here? Mike Farr, you're saying, anyone got any thoughts on the PRS CE range? Thinking of buying one. Really want a core range, but they are too expensive. I think you mean the SE range. The CE is a core guitar. It's just that it's got like a bolt-on neck rather than... I think is it still regarded as a core guitar? What my advice would be is look around on the used market and get yourself a used PRS S2. This one here is one of my favourite guitars. It really is. It's a belter of a guitar. This is an S2 Standard 24 Satin. And you can pick these up used, you know, if you're prepared to be patient and just kind of shop around. You can pick these up used for the same sort of money as a brand new SE. And this is a much better guitar. Don't get me wrong. The SE guitars are good guitars. I personally don't like the aesthetic of them. I don't like the bird inlays, but I'm fully aware that that is just one of my little foibles. There's nothing wrong with them. They're a little bit too flashy looking for me. So the SE guitars are great guitars, and if you want that PRS quality and look and versatility and everything, you know, just grab one. But if you're thinking of something a little bit kind of more, basically, if you want made in the USA, and because the feel and like the satin nitro finish on that guitar, it's just a much more tactile and pleasing instrument to play. And as I say, used, they go for the similar kind of money to brand new SE guitars. So. Pablo Hank agrees with me. Bird inlays. Oh, that's Phil, isn't it? Bird inlays too much like the marlin fish. But Pablo Hank was saying that he has the same S2 as mine. Picked it up for 700 quid. Amazing guitar. I love the satin finish. And let's have a look at what you're saying there, Peter. Gary Dunn of the Dainties, Martin Stevenson's 80s and 90s band, is one of my favourite guitar players and worth checking out. Lovely player, beautiful, subtle and melodic. I shall keep an eye out, mate. Geronimo, sorry, mate, are we giving you gear acquisition syndrome? Well, good for you, mate. Yeah, Johnny Random's talking about looking on eBay and sort of Gary Moore Les Paul for just $4,000. Is that the most recent one? That sort of recreation of that iconic Gary Moore, kind of greeny Les Paul? Because weren't they like about $50,000 to buy new? That's a lot of. If that's the guitar you're talking about, then I suspect a lot of people who bought them as investments will be crying into their beer if that's the sort of money they're going for now. But if Epiphone were to bring out, because you know how Epiphone pretty much every Joe Bonamassa guitar, Epiphone have done a version of. Epiphone have done how many versions of what's he called? That guitar player from Tool. I forget his name. Trogley's always kind of reviewing them, like the sort of silvery green burst ones. So it would seem odd if Epiphone didn't bring out a Gary Moore Les Paul at some point. Even though I'm not into relic guitars, I could make an exception with that one. And yes, Vincent Brennan, rest in peace, Gary Rossington, another loss to the guitar world. Indeed, yes, the last remaining original member of Lynyrd Skynyrd. There is going to be a solo analysis coming up soon. I was working on the solo, tabbing it out when I heard the news, and I thought, well, this will be a fitting tribute. So that's going to be, because at the moment I've got all of my videos. Let me just have a look here. I can tell you when, because I work well in advance. All of my videos for YouTube are uploaded and all the tabs and everything done up to April the 16th. So that's the next 5 weeks worth of videos are already uploaded. So that's why there's sometimes when an event like that happens, that my response can be a little bit delayed, because I heard the news this week and I'm working on the solo. Well, not as we speak at the moment, but I've got the tab mostly done. So then I've got to learn it, film myself playing it and do the sort of solo explanation part of the video. So that video will probably be going up towards the back end of April at some point. Maybe the last Monday in April. We shall see. But that's going to be my little tribute to Mr. Rossington, and it's one of his finer solos, I think. Yeah, Johnny loves saying Trogley has some serious guitar collection. He does indeed, and very educational with it. The 2000 model, mate. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's actually a nice looking guitar, isn't it? I think it's because that's the one without the binding, if I remember rightly, from that one night in Dublin gig where he was playing that, in quite a few of the songs. Somebody saying, is that a new telly on the wall? No, it isn't. That's relaxing meditation saying that. No, it's a guitar you've seen before. It's an Artist TC59, like a twin humbucker telly, which I don't play very much. So I have some plans for that guitar, and they will be announced in due course. Morris Kildare is saying, new guitar day, Harley Benton CST 24T. First Harley Benton I've had without any issues. Great straight out of the box. I'll be honest, I've only really ever had one Harley Benton that did have issues. And when I'm talking about issues, I don't mean in need of a bit of a setup because, frankly, I've had Fenders that have turned up here, not cheap Fenders either, that have needed some TLC to get them playing to the best of their ability. In an ideal world, I always say it like this, if you bought a brand new car, and the first thing you had to do with that brand new car was take it to a mechanic and get it serviced because it wasn't running properly, then you would feel a little bit aggrieved. But in the guitar world, you can buy a brand new guitar and the first thing you have to do with it is either do it yourself or take it to, some kind of guitar tech or luthier and have a setup done on it. It's not really something that you should have to do in an ideal world, but we live in the real world and quite often you do. So if a Harley Benton turns up and it's in need of a bit of a setup, then okay, well, I'll do it, if, as I say, or if a Fender needs a bit. I mean, the worst guitar I've had in here in terms of setup out of the box wasn't a Harley Benton. It was an Epiphone Les Paul Studio. It was just an appallingly badly set up guitar. It was great once it was set up, including a level and recrown on the frets on a brand new guitar. But that's the condition it turned up in. The only Harley Benton I've had that was just terminal and could not be set up out of the box was their Rickenbacker 12-string copy. The truss rod on it was absolutely maxed out, and there was just still too much of a bow in the neck, and there was just nothing that could be done about it beyond some serious remedial treatment, like fitting a more kind of beefy truss rod to proceedings. But on a guitar like that, it's not really something that is economically viable. That's the only Harley Benton that I've really had any issues with. So touch wood, maybe I've just been lucky. And I know a lot of people say, oh yes, but you're a YouTuber, they always send you the good ones. Well, I've got 27,000 plus change subscribers, which I'm incredibly proud of, but that doesn't make me anywhere near the top league of YouTubers who get the kind of special treatment. And moreover, when I first started reviewing Harley Benton guitars, I had 1,000 subscribers and I wasn't getting any bad ones then. So, I think it's just luck of the draw, and I think I've been lucky and some people are unlucky. Let's have a look. Mark Farhi is saying Gary Moore wanted to make a Les Paul that was available to Oh, excuse me, everyone. I can't believe this is happening in a live stream. Right. Let me put that on silent. Yes. They can leave a message if it's important. Mark Farhey was saying Gary Moore wanted to make a Les Paul that was available to and affordable to the ordinary player, hence a little less ornate. Yeah, and the thing is, it's a beautiful looking guitar as well. It's I do, as I say, I do hope Epiphone bring out a version of a Gary guitar, because I'll be there with me boots polished, and it will be would be nice, wouldn't it? Anyway, so we've got Paul Trainer in. How are you, mate? No, I've dumped it into voicemail and I put the phone on silent. So it's if it's important, they'll leave a message. Let's have a wee look, see what else is going on. Oh, I haven't told you what's coming up on the channel this week, have I? I don't think I have anyway. No, I'm pretty sure I haven't, unless I've had a memory lapse. I normally get that out of the way well before now. So let's go through the next 5 days worth of videos. Sunday's video is the blue guitar amp that you saw me kind of having a first impressions look at yesterday. And you're going to hear it, the usual kind of thing, in a mix with other instruments around it. Then on Monday, we'll be traveling a little bit back in time in a couple of different ways on Monday, because it's a solo from the past. Well, could hardly be one from the future, could it? I haven't got a crystal ball, but it's a solo from the 60s, a Clapton solo from the 60s, a Clapton solo from his days in Cream from the 60s, and I put that video together while I still had the Epiphone 59 Les Paul. So I'm bound to get some people in the comment section of Monday's video saying, I thought you got rid of that guitar. I did, but sometimes I record videos and I'm working weeks in advance, and that video was put together before I got rid of the Epiphone 59. Then on Tuesday, top 5 list, as is always the case. Paul Trainer, thank you very much. No, Lawrence Hastings, it's not Sunshine or Badge, it's Strange Brew. I'll put you out your suspense there. Tuesday. This is a series of top 5s that I'm going to kind of keep running for a few weeks, and we'll see how they do. But I've already got a bunch of them in the can. There was a BBC show on, gosh, it must have been getting on for 10 years ago now, where it was called When Albums Ruled the World. And there was a case put forth in that TV show that the 70s was the golden age of rock music. And the reason that is because if you accept that every art form has its golden age, there's the golden age of Hollywood and so on. It's because, there isn't really a clearly defined rule book at that point. So people have got a lot more freedom to experiment and sometimes fail, but, there's a lot more fertile ground there for, kind of generating essentially new genres of music. And if you think about it, the years between 1970 and 1980, rock music had kind of got underway in the 60s, but it really got into its stride in the 70s. You had the kind of hard rock and blues rock. You had kind of mainstream, just kind of rock that had abandoned the 12-bar format and was going in other places, different kind of chord structures and so on. But, it wasn't really heavy enough to be called metal, which was another genre of rock music. Then you had the whole kind of singer-songwriter, Springsteen, Bruce, what's he called, Bob Seger kind of thing going on. You had in Britain, you had the quintessentially quaint and English folk rock like, Jethro Tull and Pentangle and, all that kind of stuff. You had punk, you had new wave of British heavy metal, all of these different country rock kind of came out then. You had all of these different genres, these different flavors of rock music that came out in the 70s, that I don't really think we've seen that sort of diversity in rock music since then. And so I'm on a bit of a mission to kind of pick my 5 favorite albums from each of these different genres of rock music. And Tuesday's video is all about my 5 favorite blues rock albums of the 70s. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Blues is very much my kind, the center of my musical sense of gravity, shall we say. Then Wednesday, it's a viewer's question, and this week it's all about using a delay effect to get that sort of U2 edge kind of sound. So if that interests you, watch Wednesday's video. And then on Thursday, it's time to buy a new bass. So you can join me while I'm choosing my my new bass on Thursday. And then that takes us to Friday, where once again we will be enjoying a refreshing and invigorating, cold and soothing libation. In exactly that kind of manner. So, Stones has got to be included in the blues rock video. Well, watch on Tuesday, mate. Saying was it Steve Cassidy is saying is Rory Gallagher in there? Possibly. It's as I say in all of these videos, I'm not trying to come up with a definitive list of the most influential or the generally regarded as the best or this or anything like that. Music is entirely subjective and very, very personal. All I'm talking about in any of these top 5 videos for that matter, but these especially, all I'm talking about are my particular personal 5 favorites at the moment, because you know what it's like. You come up with a list of your favorite kind of albums or whatever, and then 6 months later your listening habits might have changed. You might have gone elsewhere a little while. You basically your tastes change and evolve, so all I'm saying is at the moment these are my favorites. So there you go. Farjon is saying, are you going for a Sire bass? No, because the way I see it is I'm not really a bass player. I fumble around on bass just about well enough to put bass lines on the stuff that I record for YouTube videos. And I get the feeling me buying, anything other than just a basic bass would be, it would be like buying, it would be more than my needs, shall we say. So, it's just, I set myself a budget of maybe a couple of £100. So I wanted the best bass I could get for that sort of budget. And how about the outlaw country genre? Well, I am going to be doing one on country rock. Yes. So yes, there will be a country rock. I think I've done blues rock, progressive rock, live rock albums, because that was another thing in the 70s, wasn't it? Every band, pretty much every band, it was just de rigueur that they would release a live album. Bands don't do live albums anymore. So it's I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but the great rock institution of the live album just doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. is it, as some possibly might contend, that, because a lot of bands these days can't really cut the mustard live? I would dispute that, because the way bands earn money these days, if you want to be in a successful band, you've got to be able to cut the mustard live, because record sales ain't going to give you an income. Music sales, I mean, I pay 10 quid a month to Spotify, and that is like an all you can eat buffet for every album ever recorded. And as a musician, I should hate that. I should hate the fact that I'm getting like, 0.000 something of a penny for any time anybody listens to one of my tracks. But I'm not complaining. I'm sat here blethering on about music and guitars on a daily basis, and I'm making a decent living at it. So I've found me where I found my little niche of earning a living from the guitar. And maybe it wasn't what I intended when I first set out on this path, but it is. The bills are paid every month, and that's as a result of me picking up a guitar and playing it and talking about it. So, I'm all right with that. And I just love the idea that I've got instant access to any music I want to listen to. And for me, just personally, that does not make it any less special than it used to be in the days when you used to have to, put your shoes on and put your hat and coat on and walk down to the bus stop and get on a number 7 bus, go into the middle of the town, find the record shop. Damn, they haven't got the album you want, so you've got to order it, and then you wait for the phone call when they've got it in stock, and then you go back down again, and all of this kind of rigmarole. I can understand why some people may feel that made the music a little bit more special than because you had to put more effort into getting your hands on it. But I don't feel that way. The music is still just as enticing and intoxicating and fantastic when I can just do it with a couple of clicks of my finger on my Spotify app. John Channing is saying Blackberry Smoke have released 2 fantastic live CDs and DVDs. Yeah, I didn't know that. The point, but yeah, I take your point, mate. I'm not saying it's something that doesn't happen anymore. I'm just saying it doesn't happen as often. So maybe it should be it should be something that I guess, though, to record a live album, there's if essentially you're going to have to kind of go to the trouble of recording the set and mixing the set and everything, as well as performing it, and there's going to be no financial kind of reward for doing so, because it's essentially going to be given away free on a streaming service. I can see possibly why that wouldn't be happening, but I'm just saying, I love live albums. Time Prophet is saying streaming music at low bit rate is not good for an audiophile like I. Well, you know what? I perhaps would have been with you on that. Then I think it was about in 2010, 2011, round about then, a little over 10 years ago, let's say. I got myself a little music player. Let's get a little bit more light going on in here. I got myself a little kind of personal music player, MP3 player, basically, that could handle the whole, the lossless audio format. And I was so super excited to kind of hear this fantastic, was it FLAC, FLAC audio format that's just so much better than, even the highest bitrate MP3. And I had, some fantastic headphones, still have actually, real proper kind of, good quality headphones. And I got to tell you that I, with my muddy old ears that, are well into middle age, or were even by then, it's a well-known phenomenon that your perception of certain frequencies degrades with age. And because of that, I couldn't hear any difference. The interesting thing is, though, that I don't perceive any degradation in my appreciation of the music. The music still sounds as crisp and as high quality as it ever used to when I was, a young man, many years ago. Um, so I don't notice any difference in the listening experience, but neither do I notice any difference going to some sort of lossless audio format. So for me, as long as I've got a decent sort of bitrate MP3 or whatever the format is that Spotify use, but when you've got the paid service, you can upgrade to a slightly more high definition audio. I don't. For me, that is perfectly adequate, and I get as much enjoyment out of the music as I ever have done. Even when I was listening in the bad old days of vinyl, because I'm in absolutely no rush to go back to vinyl again. I lived through the misery of vinyl the first time round, and it's a lot of people look back on it with rose tinted spectacles, but not me. I can assure you. Let's have a look. Best live albums ever. I think I've done it before, but would be interested in other people's opinion. Yeah, I think at the beginning of the whole kind of situation we found ourselves in 2020, which I'm still not sure how kind of how circumspect you've got to be on that score when you're on YouTube. So I'm just going to say the situation that the world kind of encountered in 2020, when I went from doing 2 videos a week up to 5 videos a week. I think back then I probably did do like some early form of my top 5 list type videos back then on live albums. But as I said earlier, these are my favorites at the moment. So there's always the likely, I was going to say the possibility, but no, the likelihood and the probability that, a couple of years later, you're going to possibly have a different perspective. Let's have a look. Stuart Young, Frampton Comes Alive. Well, spoiler alert, yeah, that one's on my favourite live albums list. That's a fantastic album. Let's see what else people have been talking about while I've been blethering away. Yeah, Craig Stamen is with me on that. I have thousands of albums all stored in the back room and loft. It's Spotify all the way now. Let's have a look. GRB Aquatics. Every guitarist needs to check out Prince video Purple Rain live at Syracuse, March 3085. Must watch to the end. Such an amazing guitarist. Not only an amazing guitarist, but he was just he was an amazing multi-instrumentalist, wasn't he? He was he had that sort of in common with Stevie Wonder, because if you don't know if you've ever seen any documentaries about Stevie Wonder, but as well as sort of playing keyboards, he's quite happily sitting behind a drum kit as well, which I think is just amazing, given the fact that he's he can't see what he's doing. What we got here, John? Have you tried already the new Harley Benton SC 550 Goto Slash tribute? Possibly, mate. I'm not sure if it was the Slash tribute that I had, but I did have a Harley Benton SC 550 in here. Gosh, it's got to be a couple of years ago now, and it was a fantastic guitar. The only reason I got rid of it was because I found myself in the very fortunate position of being able to afford a Gibson Les Paul, a guitar that I hadn't realised that I'd missed having, because I got rid of my last Gibson Les Paul in the early 90s, and just as soon as I found myself thinking I could actually afford a Gibson Les Paul. It just sort of got me a little bit fizzy and kind of excited. So I got one, and it's a beautiful guitar. You've seen it a few times on the channel, but it meant that I didn't need the Harley Benton anymore. So I did like a little giveaway competition, and off it went to its new owner. I thought I'll pass on the good fortune a little bit. Didn't want to sell it, wanted to kind of basically, you chaps who come and watch my videos and join me for a beer on a Friday, you're the reason I was able to, by you guys have built this channel, not me. I just make the videos. It's you clicking subscribe and turning up here. How many 200 people, 206 people at the latest count on a Friday to watch me talk absolute nonsense for an hour while I'm throwing beer down in my face. You chaps are the ones that have made this channel, and I just wanted to give a little something back. So hence I did a little giveaway competition, and off it went to its new owner. James Falconer. Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney are the only two geniuses left, in my opinion. I would add a third one to that. I would say Jeff Lynne. That guy is just, I think he's a songwriting colossus and multi-instrumentalist and producer, arranger, singer. He's just got it all, really. I'm not disagreeing with Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney. I'm just saying, consider Jeff Lynne as well. Let's have a look. Farjon is saying, not wrong with a bit of nonsense on a Friday. Well, I'm glad you think so, mate. And it's going to get even more nonsensical as the evening progresses, I suspect, because this is tasting rather fine this evening. In case anybody's interested, if you haven't noticed, this evening's particular stream of verbal diarrhea is brought to you courtesy of Heineken, because the shopping came from Asda this week. Jeff Lynne resurrected Joe Walsh's career. Check out Analog Man. Yeah, I have. I've got the album. I think. Well, I'll know exactly where it is. It's on. It's not on Spotify, actually. I've got an MP3 version of it that somebody, I think, kind of did me a vinyl rip of. I wouldn't even. Is Joe Walsh's stuff up on Spotify? I would imagine it is, but. Let's have a look. I see the old, Paul McCartney kind of, that whole Paul McCartney is an imposter kind of conspiracy is rearing its head. I'll be honest with you, I'm skeptical on that, but then again, I'm skeptical on all conspiracy theories because I think history shows us when it comes to conspiracies, there's a choice between conspiracy or incompetence, and usually incompetence is the more likely. Although I'm not saying that applies to this particular situation. I'm just saying that my take on conspiracy theories in general is that it's the people involved are never usually clever enough to conspire that effectively. Especially when we're talking about politicians. But least said about that, the better. Just my general skepticism on the whole kind of Paul McCartney is an imposter is what colours my judgment on that. And because of that, I haven't particularly looked into the ins and outs of it, so I can't claim to have an informed opinion. All I've got, and I'll freely admit, is a bias that I don't kind of buy into conspiracy theories particularly much. So there you go. Anyway, Yeah, I'd go along with that, mate. You know, let's say for just a nanosecond that the conspiracy about Paul McCartney dying in 1966, or was it then? I'm not sure. And they hired a lookalike. That lookalike seems to have an incredible talent for writing great songs, doesn't he? So again, that to me that sort of counts against it as well. But there you go. I'm not saying if you've researched this, right, if you've looked into it and you've seen the evidence and you've concluded based upon the evidence that you've looked at that it's possibly likely that there is some truth in it. I'm not saying that I think you're wrong. I'm just saying that I'm skeptical because I'm generally skeptical about these kind of things. Anyway, yeah, somebody said the Beatle car had a clue in the number plate, but it was just owned by a member of the public, and the Beatles couldn't move it with a photo. Yeah, that was. I know that one. That thing was on the cover of was it Abbey Road? But anyway. Nancy Davis is saying, what about Roger Waters doing a solo version of Dark Side of the Moon? Don't mess with perfection, I'd say. Yeah, and entirely. That is, again, that's it's. I've been, not I can say reading up about it, but it's been, kind of, excuse me. Oh, that was one I didn't want. It's been all over the place, hasn't it? This thing about Roger Waters re-recording Dark Side of the Moon, and it turns out it's just yet another part of the ongoing spat between Waters and Gilmour. So that's what that is. But going back to Jeff Lynne again, he did a project where he re-recorded a lot of old ELO songs, and I've got to say, Jeff, don't mess with them. They were iconic. They were perfect as they were. And it's when he redid Mr. Blue Sky. What was wrong with the original of Mr. Blue Sky, the original version of that? Why did that need re-recording? And when you did re-record it, Jeff, why did you miss out that kind of weird bit at the end where it changes key and ends almost as, because that for me is like an integral part of that song. So yeah, don't try and reinvent the wheel. It's there. People love it. People appreciate it. It's that version that has existed for decades. I suspect what a lot of these artists don't fully appreciate is that people have got emotions and memories invested in that piece of music, and it's like you're creating a different version of it, and they don't want a different version of it because they remember the first time they heard that, and they remember it was maybe at an important milestone in their lives, and it shouldn't really be it shouldn't be something that you should mess with lightly, is what I'm saying. Robin Fawcett is saying, what do you think of the Guild Surfliner? I don't know, mate. I've never played one. So I can't offer an informed opinion. Let's go and have a look, see exactly what we've got. Yeah, Gary Moore revisited some songs. He was a perfectionist, but I think the originals were the best. Yeah, he did those sort of ballads and blues albums, didn't he? There's a couple of those where he re-recorded a couple of things, and again, they weren't albums that I went out and bought because I wasn't interested in retreads, basically. Jeff Lynne was Chaz in Chaz and Dave. Not a lot of people know that, according to some bloke. Yeah, he wasn't. Chaz in Chaz and Dave was called Chaz Hodges, and they were both in a band called Head, Hands and Feet with Albert Lee back in the, was that late 60s, early 70s? Let's have a look. Jimmy Page has been doing that with Led Zeppelin albums since they split up. I didn't realise that, mate. I didn't realise that Jimmy had been re-recording Zeppelin stuff. Seems to be a lot of it about. Now we've opened this can of worms. It seems to be that, more artists than I realised were doing this kind of thing of going and, kind of redoing their back catalogue. Time Profit, what you're saying there, mate. Sometimes artists make a mistake, which is gold when recording, which they forget about when they try and record it. Well, fair enough. I mean, I always come back to the Beatles. Probably one of the most iconic Beatles songs is Hey Jude. And there's a whopping great mistake in that on the final verse. I can't remember the timestamp for it, but listen to Hey Jude. Many of you probably already know about this. But in the final verse where the lyric is, remember to let her under your skin, then you can begin. That part of the final verse, I think it's John in the background who drops an almighty clanger and then says a very naughty word. And once you know it's there, it's a phrase that rhymes with clucking bell, put it that way. Once you know it's there, you hear it every time, but it doesn't detract from the brilliance of the song, I think. So there you go. Anyway, chaps, I'm going to wrap things up there for this evening because I'm starting to flag a little bit and I'm getting hungry and I'm almost at the end of my final beer that I brought up with me. So thank you, each and every one of you, for turning up and watching a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute cobblers for an hour, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, I wish you all a fantastic weekend and say time, gentlemen, please.